All right, hello and welcome back to Answering Atheism. We are on episode 20, so a fifth of the way to 100. Last time I checked me maths. But anyhow, we got a really good episode, I think, this time. Really good episode. I'm very satisfied with it, at least in note form. So we'll have to see. But before I get started, I would like to dish out a verse. So, anyhow, Matthew 5:14 to 16 through 16. King James Version. I just like the King James, more old style sounding. That's just what I'm kind of fond of. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill, cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works, and glorify your Father which is in heaven. All right. So now I think I should briefly explain what the series is about. I take the Christian side of things. No hiding that at all. Not trying to surprise anyone. And what we do is I take a atheist type comment from off the web. I take some time to craft out some notes based upon it, and I will do my best to bring it onto this show and dismantle it and try and counter it if at all possible. So I think we got a really, really good one this time. So this was one of the more militant type comments, I think. But anyhow, all right. So who's ready for the comment? Who's ready? 2.5 minutes in. Whatever the case. All right, so here we go. Here's the comment that we have to address. The Bible should renamed. They mean be renamed. How about, quote, how to own slaves and rape women for dummies, end quote. Now, I didn't put it in my notes, but I think on the second part there, the rape women for dummies part, I think what they're alluding to is probably one of the conquering type events Israel did after some sort of battle, wiping out Canaanites and stuff like that from the land God was giving them. And after they had done such, they took to the women or something like that, which was never condoned by God or anything like that. Doesn't mean he will not allow certain things to occur, and for people to eventually come around and realize how silly they were to do A, B, and C on their own time, or for them to reap the consequences of something. I don't know all the details, and I don't have the whole account right here. Like I said, I didn't even expect to bring that up, but that's what I think that's what he's getting at right there, this person. I think it's a dude. But anyhow, you know, and that kind of comment, it's like, what world is he living in? Where is he seeing this? This is only whatever he has conceived based on the Bible. But he's missing. I will tell you what, he's missing a very, very key point, which I'm going to save for towards the end. He's missing a very key point. So we'll save that towards the end. So he's choosing some sort of moral standard here, which is interesting. He's alluding his dislike towards slavery raping of women. So he's choosing a moral standard. He's picking out his subjective, arbitrary moral standard, despite mankind being what? In his view, stardust, chemicals, animals? Well, if we're just animals, why would that be wrong? I'm sure there's plenty of animals that do that sort. And one side probably can't stop such. You might once in a while see some pretty bonkers squirrels. So that's that. But anyhow, but first thing first, one would have to figure out what kind of slavery we're talking about back in the Old Testament, which he's attacking. What kind of slavery are we talking about? Whether that be like the modernly perceived and thought of slavery, which would, likelihood be the bit from America's past. Or you could have something like serfdom of older times, whatever the case, medieval ages, middle ages, dark ages, whatever it was. I haven't really studied the topic out. There's 1,001 topics, to say the least. But as far as I've heard, the sort that was back then was some sort of anti-debt slavery of sorts. But with modern perception, even the word slavery would be bad. But on what basis is it bad outside of subjective and arbitrary? How do you arrive at to it being objectively bad? But yeah, as far as I've heard, it was an anti-debt type system where if folks went under the bus financially, they could work for another family unit or something like that, and stay afloat that way. They wouldn't be out on the streets dying or anything. They would still be able to function. So I guess if you wanted to think of it as like a different class of society or something like that, who knows. And then of course you'd have Jubilee type system, which at the end of however long they agreed to, or whatever the case, 7 years, the debt's being wiped out, so they can start anew, they can start fresh again. It was a good system, but certainly things like that I don't think would really work today, and let alone trust. You couldn't trust anyone really to bring them in and work for you within the home type of a deal. You'd have to know them 100%, 200%. And then so there's that. And then for this kind of a comment, blah blah blah, how to own slaves and la 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 for dummies. So we're still on the topic of slaves. There's a problem with that. It's rather problematic because there were a considerable amount of slaves that were some of the early Christian converts. That seems rather problematic, probably under Roman slavery, to trade in one for the other. But with the perspective they had, they were probably looking for something to get them through temporary suffering, something to support them, some sort of system to support them. And by looking ahead beyond temporary toils and blood, sweat, and tears and suffering, looking ahead at the infinite time and relationship with God, it just doesn't compare. So that's that. But yeah, that is a bit of a problem that slaves were early Christians. So, and I think what was there? There was other things. There were probably a lot of singles, divorced or widows that were, so that they could be helped and all that sort. But I have an objection to this of sorts. Is this how to own slaves and rape women for dummies type comment? Is the slavery within the Bible, mentioned within the Bible, and the rape of women, if that was the case? I don't remember 100%, but if those things were the case, and those, the first probably not being bad, it would probably be a good thing if it was, as I said, but the latter obviously being a bad thing. So he's really, how can he say it's a bad thing? So he's standing on Christianity, amusingly. But here's the deal. Here's what I find. Are those things why this person holds to atheism? Is it their top objection? Is it the only thing that is, holding them back from Christianity, from God, and taking part of the free gift, mercy, grace, forgiveness, righteousness, infinite life with God? Is that the thing that is holding them back? I don't think so. I think nay. And I think we have a basis for it on this side of the fence. Romans 1:19 through 21. Because that which may be known of God is manifest in them. For God hath showed it unto them. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Because that, when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Without excuse. I think we'll go over more of like the definitions of atheism on a separate episode. That's what I've been thinking about doing. I just don't think holding to lack of belief, I don't find that to be a very fair position, because it's not claiming one thing or another. It's not having a intellectual knowledge claim on this or that, one way or another. Atheism, the position that God does not exist versus just a lack of belief, more light, fluffy atheism or whatever. We can call it pillow atheism or whatever. So I find the later version there as not very fair, because it's not a knowledge position. It's not affirming or denying. So so anyone could just say that about anything. I lack belief, this and that. Well, you're not claiming one way or another. So, but we'll probably go over that in agnosticism and all that sort some other time. But anyhow, slavery. On the slavery component of this, as far as I can tell, he's presupposing Christianity to attack it. So, that slavery as we modernly know it, which still exists around the world, he's trying to attack Christianity by pointing these things out that are somehow bad. How are they bad? How are they bad, wrong, morally wrong, evil? You can't have those. It just is what it is. You can't have those. All that stuff is, without an absolute moral lawgiver, transcendent, universal, that things are wrong objectively, it just boils down to subjective, arbitrary opinions. Who cares? What if we have one person who thinks slavery is okay and one person who thinks it's wrong? Who is right? How do we determine what is true there? Who is right? Let's say back in the United States when it was about who's right? Who's right? I don't want to get too political, but I find it completely bonkers that some people are just wanting to hold on to that stuff in the past forever. And it just seems like those individuals are whacked out. I'm sorry, but just race-obsessed wackos. It's just bonkers to see those kinds of people today. But anyhow, but yeah, we kind of have this tendency to think, whenever we hear slavery, we think of like the most modern and famous, which would be United States type of a deal. But to just focus on it, so like some people do, and wanting to just endlessly bring it up, I think to some degree those race-obsessed people, I think it's just bonkers. It's like an attack on the nation itself or something that's going on. Just bonkers. I can't explain it. When I see that sort, I'm just stunned, though. If they're that race-obsessed, then they're probably the racist. I'm sorry, but it's just bonkers. And not that I want to get too political on this either, but on the modern slavery type sort. And not that I like any political party. I think the main two, the reps and Dems, they're two sides of the same coin. And all that sort. And there's plenty more to that, but anyhow, Republicans, the Republican Party, Republicans, Lincoln, they freed the slaves. The Democrats dehumanized blacks and had the KKK to justify themselves with wacky beliefs that aren't in the Bible. So that was that. And if you think about all those types of things, dehumanizing blacks, which blacks, even under all that slavery, they had amazing faith, beautiful music they sang, once again focusing not on the temporary, what they were under, but the eternal after this life. So doesn't compare. So what they would go through on earth would just be nothing in comparison. Nothing at all. I doubt they would even remember those types of things, but that's another speculation view for another time. But if you think of that, the dehumanizing of blacks, they're just animals in evolution, and they're close to monkeys and they're not human, blah blah blah. Oda Benga is something to look into on that. I think he suicided because they caged him like an animal, treated him like an animal, and stuff like that. Just bonkers. So dehumanization and justification. People try and justify what they do. Reminds me of one of the comments we dealt with, that the person said, "I don't sin." Well, good luck with that one. As we quoted, without excuse. You're not without excuse. Or you are without excuse. Sorry. Botch. But anyhow, dehumanization and trying to justify. Does that sound at all familiar to you? Same thing with abortion today worldwide. It's murder. Not only murder, but it's despicable, evil. Murder, not just murder, but murder of defenseless babies, male and female. Think about it. Female defenseless babies being murdered indirectly by their own parents, but still. That's just bonkers. That is just something I cannot fathom. But yeah, people shout, "It's not human, it's not human, it's not human," trying to justify themselves without excuse. It is human. So, and I'm pretty certain I just make the prediction that, America, no matter what, I think we're on the steep decline. The foundation is being just destroyed and attacked and taken away. And if the foundation be destroyed, what can the righteous do? So, most Christians, and this should be an indicator, most Christians think we're in the end times. We're near the end times, in the end times, something like that. So that should be a huge indicator, I think, to even non-Christians, I would suppose, about what's going on and different things in the world and how things are falling apart. I think things are going to get much worse, much worse. And with the stuff in Revelation, things are going to get bad. So how I see it is Abortion is just phase 1. Phase 2 is coming. Phase 2 is coming. I don't know when. I don't know how long it'll take to change people's beliefs over time and get people to compromise and not get upset about it. But I'm pretty sure that, as is today, abortion up to birth, the same type of thing is going to become legal up to several years after birth. And you watch. It's going to be bonkers. It's going to be in a world upside down. You watch all the different things with that. You watch people who point it out as evil get thrown under the bus. And the normalization of it, and so many things. I think it's coming. Up to several years old. That it's going to be legal to murder them. Murder their own kids. I think it's going to happen. So, that's that. I think we better move on. But I had more to say there, but it kind of went out one ear. And did I show off my my tie? I usually like to show off my ties. Behemoth. There we go. All right. And then, so on the slavery thing, he's totally presupposing Christianity. So it's pretty bonkers of him to attack Christianity while presupposing him that slavery is wrong. America was founded on Christian-type concepts. Liberty sounds pretty much opposite of slavery. So if you remove that foundation, if you take God away from the foundation of the country and God-given rights, well, and if you can convince everyone that God does not exist, or the majority, and the majority vote, or whatever the case, and then they move in to take away those rights, well, are people going to have a problem with it? So there's a lot there. The worst thing the powers that be could want is a bunch of strong Bible-believing Christians who aren't going to put up with this and that. So that's what we had. We had darn good founding fathers who are just bonkers under attack today. Statues being destroyed and just stupid stuff. Just stupid. Our youth has really gone to heck. I will be happy if I'm long gone before the real bad stuff arrives. I will be really happy and hope that is the case on some basis. But I hope to be out of here before that, in a different way, to be taken. But I don't know if that's going to be the case. There's different views on that. So anyhow, and then with rape, he's presupposing Christianity as well, that it's wrong, absolutely, objectively, morally wrong. Otherwise, how can you say, that it's wrong? You just have subjective, arbitrary, who cares opinion. What if there's 1 and 1, What if one person says it's okay to rape and one not to rape? Who's right? The other thing I was going to say is you watch when eventually, I don't know if it's going to be 5 years, 5 months, 5 days, 50 years, 500 years, it's a coming. Abortion phase 2, up to several years old, and you watch people who are doing the same thing with other topics, with other things. You watch people, families, friends, you name it, who are too afraid to stick up for the kid. like they do with the baby today, too afraid to stick up for that human life, someday up to several years old, pretty darn sure, you watch, when they're too afraid to stick up for that life, but would rather have the comfort of just backing their friend or family member. I don't want to upset or offend you, so I'm just going to support you, type of a deal. That's not honorable. That's anything but honorable. That is disgusting and sick and wrong. You gotta have guts. You gotta have guts. Call them like they are. Good grief. So, anyhow, that's what I wanted to say on that. Back to the rape thing. So, for rape to be wrong, you need a absolute moral lawgiver, transcendent, universal, so that it wouldn't matter where, so that it wouldn't matter against who, so that it wouldn't matter when it would be wrong. In atheism, would it matter where? Would it matter against who? Would it matter when? If someone believes it is and isn't, two different people, who's right and who's wrong. What if the pleasure from it surpassed the, pain and this and that from it? The pain, the psychological, everything from it. What if the pleasure was more than that? Would it be superior? So, anyhow, I want to wrap this up and get to my key point that I think this person missed. I think this person missed the mark big league. And this is for a lot of different points that people attack the Bible for having this or that within it. Different things within it that people did wrong. Different people doing things wrong. Totally human. But here it is. They're missing a key point. It's actually not a detriment, but it's actually a huge good bonus indicator that the accounts therein are historical and accurate. Think about it. The bad stuff was not erased. Taken out, modified. Often, what anyone would do, any of us would do, let alone in the past, what they did was they would keep out, exclude, take out anything bad, especially kings or high position, most known people. They would take out the bad or leave it out. The Bible keeps in people's faults, people's wrongs, people's errors. People wanting to murders, rapes, you name it. The wrongs are kept in. That backs up how it's accurate and historical. So that's a big point he missed. And often people do on a lot of these when they attack the Bible over having this or that within it. Rape or murder or this and that. Saul wanted to kill David, I think. That wasn't taken out. So yeah, it actually adds to the validity of it, if anything. So anyhow, I want to, before I give up on this, I just want to add the tidbit on the rape topic. Exodus Exodus 20:14 and 20:15, and I don't know what the other one is. Let's suppose 20 verse 13. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal. All those things have to do with rape. So at least three of the 10 Commandments, based upon God, based upon God's nature, who he is. We are made in the image of God. We are moral creatures, but we fell. So, anyhow, so there you have it. There you have it. We have a basis for why these things are wrong. So I'd like to end off with 1 Corinthians 15:22. For as in Adam all die, even so in Christ shall all be made alive. So that's that. Adam represented us. He fell. Jesus is the second and last Adam, and he is our new representative. So you can take part of his righteousness. God can see you as one of his own, righteous, and to be able to enter heaven. But grace, faith on Jesus alone. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. No one shall come to the Father except through him. So he is the only way, only one, only way. So if you want to take part in that free gift of salvation, can't do squat to earn it, to get there. Free gift, lest any man should boast. So anyhow, thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for more Answering Atheism when we come back for episode 21. I will see you up ahead. As always, take care, cool.